Hey everyone, welcome to the webinar. Drop in the chat where you're tuning in from. We like to know where in the world everyone is. My name is Nick Baldwin, co-founder of LabCoat Agents. I've got superstar Taley Hunt here with us today, and Taley's got a super cool story. It's kind of multifaceted, but we're gonna try to only focus on a couple facets of the multifaceted business that Taley has. Um, but Taley, by the way, thank you for being here, Taley. We appreciate you
I'm
being here.
glad to be here. Thank you.
So Taley moved to a new town, didn't have a sphere of influence, and started social media, and it's blown up to over 50,000 followers on Instagram. But that's not what we're really going to discuss in terms of where your business is coming from now. Like originally her Instagram was geared towards the consumer, and then it you pivoted to gear it towards the agent, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
And let's talk about a little bit of your achievements. So you closed over 420 homes in 5 years. Last year you did 43 million. You've added some buyer agents who are kicking butt too. Um, but we're going to talk about how many referrals did you get last in 2024? 100?
Yeah, over the last 2 years, so 2024 and 2023, we got over 100 referrals each year from other
Okay.
agents.
And you closed how many of those referrals?
Usually we close about 50% of what we get.
Okay, so fifty transactions, give or take, in the last couple years, just from agent to agent referrals. So we're going to discuss that primarily. But talk to me about when you realized you probably should start transitioning your social media to agents as opposed to trying to attract the consumer. What was that pivot and why did that happen?
Yeah, so I moved from a brand new state into Columbia, South Carolina in 2020. And if anybody remembers what the world was like then, I'm sure you guys know it was absolutely crazy. It was messy. And I decided to get my real estate license, and I had no previous experience in real estate, so everything was brand new to me. I became a mom my very first year in the business, and the first year I sold 28 units. The second year I sold 86 units. The third year I sold 145. And last year I started a small team and we sold 160. And we did all of that with no paid leads. And so it was just a lot of community involvement, social media, and overall branding, which is why we titled the webinar what we titled it this year, is because I believe that the reason why my real estate business is so strong is because I have a really strong personal and business brand that's recognizable and definable amongst other people in our market, and it attracts the people that we want to work with. So instead of having to chase down leads or constantly try to convert, people come to us ready to sign documents and work with us. And when you have that type of success, people ask questions. They want to pick your brain. They want to know why things are working the way they are. And so I found that after speaking on stages or being interviewed, I had an overwhelmingly large audience on my Instagram of real estate agents instead of people who were local. So a lot of our business comes from social media. A lot of it would mostly, primarily, I would say, be Facebook. It was Instagram, but when people started to ask questions, or I would be in places and speak on panels, I would get a lot of followers that were agents. And so I realized that there's an opportunity here to be able to teach agents how I've been able to grow. And so I just changed my audience because my audience had naturally become real estate agents. And I said, I have enough business from other places to be able to sustain without Instagram being our main moneymaker here. So it worked out.
Yeah, so I often talk to agents about the importance of building a brand, and so many of them are not interested in that, right? In the sense that, like, well, I just want to generate leads. I just want to close deals. Of course, you want to close deals, but wouldn't it be so much easier if you had a reputation that attracted people to you as opposed to you trying to go out and find those people, right? And that's a process that takes a while. You can do both. You can, go out and get the people and also have the people come to you. But what in your opinion, like when did you realize the importance of like actually creating a brand that people would recognize?
Yeah. So I think when I first started, I was creating a brand without knowing it. I was showing up online every day. It was almost like a cold plunge. You just get in there and you do it, whether you want to do it or you don't. But it makes you feel so much better after you've actually done the thing and you feel like
Yeah.
prepared to take on the day. And for me, that was it. I knew that no matter what was going to happen in my life, if I didn't go in and do the thing, then I wouldn't be able to succeed. And so you may not be an agent who's listening to this, who's in the same scenario that I was in a brand new city or state, or not having anything else to do but be on social media because it was in the middle of a pandemic. But I believe that every agent has something that they need to do that they're avoiding doing. And if they just did that thing, then their business would be better for it. And my thing was, I've got to figure out a way to lead generate. And all I knew was social media because there wasn't door knocking, there wasn't cold calling, houses were selling super fast. I was a new agent, I didn't know how to do that anyway, but what I did know how to do was get on my phone and create relationships and talk to people, and so that's what I did. So I took the talent that I had by being able to show up online and do it, and it was scary, but I just did it, right? And so at the time I would say that I didn't realize I was creating a brand, but I was, because I was doing one thing that most agents struggle with, which is showing up authentically. Everybody gets really nervous about like being scared to create content because they don't know what they're going to say, being scared to get on their stories and talk because they're scared of what people will think about how they look and talk and act, being scared of what people will say about them marketing themselves all the time. But I just did it. I didn't have any other option. I either wanted to be successful or I didn't. And for me it was like either I get online and show up and be embarrassed about it, that sucks, or I fail at this business, that sucks. Which one sucks for longer? Failing at the business. So I just did it, right? And so for me, building a brand was figuring out like, who is it that I want to be known for? What is it that I want people to know about me? Who's my ideal client? And from then I just spoke to them. I really wanted to work with military families that were moving into the area. So my content was always geared towards them. I really wanted people to think of me as like an approachable, relatable person. So, I was very authentic in my brand colors, pink all the way, like who wears the pink outfit and drives a pink car and has a pink listing sign, and that screams you can't call that person. So I just showed up in the most authentic way that I knew how. And I think that's what most agents really struggle with, is like they find themselves doom scrolling and saying, oh, this real estate agent did this video and it looked really great, let me just copy them. And I think building a brand is all about being really authentic to who you are.
What would be your suggestion then? Because so many agents are not building or creating content.
Yeah.
What would be a good way to get started? Like, what should they focus on
Yeah.
initially?
I think that a lot of times people will see people like me on Instagram who have over 50,000 followers and who sell a lot of houses or whatever. And it might seem like, oh, they know exactly what they're doing. They're good at this. I can't be successful if am not, if I don't have this many followers, if I don't have this audience. I started with just this. Like, this is all I use to create content. I might have a ring light, maybe not. Usually, I'm not even putting my phone on a tripod. I just have it set up on something on the counter. It doesn't have to be fancy and overwhelming. I don't have a team who's creating content for me. I'm just doing it myself. And I
Hmm.
think that if me, as a mom to an almost 4-year-old, as somebody who's running a team where we've already sold and pinned over 40 houses this year, as somebody who was selling hundreds of houses by herself, like if I can make the time to create content on social media and show up regularly, I don't know why anybody can't. I think that people make excuses and make it more complicated than it needs to be because complicated gives excuses and that makes people feel bad. But there are people that did not grow up in a day and age with cell phones in their hands that are crushing it online. If I had to give anybody advice, it would be to give yourself a 30-day challenge to do something that scares you as far as building your brand and social media goes every day for 30 days. And by the end of the 30 days, you'll probably be so accustomed to it that it doesn't feel as scary anymore. It's like immersion therapy. Just do it, just get on social media and talk to your phone, and who cares what everybody else has to think. And then once you get comfortable with the idea of just doing that, then you will be able to do it better, because now at least you know that you can do it. I think
Yeah.
there's people have too much ego.
In the chat, I believe it's Jacques, says so many agents are afraid of really committing to one thing and don't give it enough time to find success. Yeah, because they expect it to happen immediately. Like nothing happens immediately, especially building a following and building a brand and a recognizable brand. That doesn't happen immediately. But if you look at Taley's Instagram, I mean, what she's doing is not, no offense, this is the point. It's not like groundbreaking. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like it's good content, but it's not like, you're not reinventing the wheel. You're actually some of your most successful posts aren't even like their voiceovers or their text
Right.
over a photo or a video, where essentially you're taking a video or a picture from somewhere else and you're turning it into content. You didn't actually go and create that. You know what I'm saying? You you
Correct. It's
you
not like
took
I hired a videographer and said, let me write a script and show up
right.
online and be this professionally polished person. And I would say that that's part of my brand, right? Like there are agents who do that, and they
Yeah.
really like spend a lot of money in marketing, and that's who they are. They show up that way, and that's their thing, and that's okay because that's their brand. That's not me. That is not me. And I don't want it to be me, because I don't show up online in heels and in a three-piece suit every day and because when you meet me in person, I don't want you to expect it. It's just not who I am. And so I showed up yesterday on my stories talking, and I had no makeup on, and my face was broken out, and it's just like, I don't care, like I am who I am, and it is what it is. But this person in the chat is totally right. It is consistency. That is what makes it work. So many agents want to have a quick win when that's just not realistic. And I think from the outside looking in, like maybe it feels like, oh, it's so easy for this other person because they already have the audience. The audience wasn't built in a day. It takes a long time.
Well, there's give yourself a 100-day challenge. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? These platforms like Instagram and TikTok and YouTube, they like consistency. So
Mhm.
if you're posting once a day for the like initially to build up the following, you have to post daily. And then once your following starts to come in, you don't have to necessarily post daily. You can post every other day or something like that. But Instagram likes when you mix it up. They like when you post to your profile grid. They like reels. They like stories. All of these things are meant for different people in terms of different goals. But if you start posting, I'll tell you this, TikTok's probably the easiest in terms
Yeah.
of building a following. Instagram is very hard to get
Yeah.
followers. Very hard. Like,
TikTok's algorithm is so good. It is so
oh,
good. Like,
TikTok's great in terms of
if
that.
you get the hang of TikTok, but the thing is, when you're building your brand online, you have to recognize that you don't own any of these platforms. They could all go
Right,
away
right,
tomorrow.
right.
You can use
Well,
it.
look at what's happening with TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's really important to think about those things too. And if you're watching this and you're thinking like, I need to build a brand, what does that even look like? Is there anybody here that's listening that feels like they have a really solid brand? And I would say if that's you, put a one in the chat so we can kind of figure out who is here and listening. And if there's anybody that is listening to this and they're like, I don't even know what a brand is. Like I have no clue
Right.
what I'm supposed to be thinking about, put a two. So we know like what is the range of people. And I would say that when we think about how do you build a brand, we should be thinking about a few things. Do you know your core values as a human being?
Hmm.
And I think you should lead with that. Do you know who your perfect ideal client is? Like if you could pick any client that you would want to work with again and again and again, what kind of person is that? Do you have a brand suite? Like, are your posts online, is your marketing consistent? Colors, fonts, is it all wrapped up in a pretty little bow? Or is your messaging good? Do you know what to say, when to say it in order to get online and bring the people to you?
Mm.
Those are things that you should really have a good feel for if you don't. And if you don't, you have to really do some self-reflection to figure out, okay, who is it that I want to attract? So then you're not throwing spaghetti at the wall and like, just seeing who sees my Instagram reels or who sees my posts and picks me up. It has to be strategic.
Also, a brand is not a logo. So
100%.
a lot of people think, well, I have a logo. A logo doesn't mean anything if it's not reflective of your brand. Actually, when you're building a brand and creating a brand, the logo should be the last thing that you create, because it fits into your core values, your beliefs, the type of clients you work with. Also, something to think about, your brand is not necessarily what you think it is, but it's also what your clients would say about you, right? That's also part of your brand too. Because if what you think your brand is isn't resonating and your clients are like, "Well, I thought of you like this," your messaging wasn't as clear as it should be. So Paul's asking, what do you do to attract followers specific to your geographic region? Um, you can answer that. I have some ideas, but go ahead.
Yeah. So I think one thing, if we're talking about Instagram, right? Well, first of all, if you're posting on Instagram, you should absolutely be taking that same content and cross-posting it on Facebook. Our Instagram views, so I have an Instagram for my coaching business, which is at Realtor Mom Coach, but then I have another Instagram that's specific to real estate in terms of local buying and selling, right? And for us, it's not necessarily right now a mechanism to get leads. It's more of brand congruency. Like, how do we make sure that no matter where people find us, it makes sense with what we're putting out there into the world? And the content that we post on that page gets automatically posted onto Facebook. So we're getting twice the bang for our buck, right? When we're posting content on Instagram or on Facebook that is intentionally designed to be able to get local people's attention and to get them onto our feed, and to see us and to know us, we are being real specific about the words that we are using. So when I'm taking the time to draft out content, I have a little spreadsheet that I use, and there's one cell on the spreadsheet that says brand tie-in. Like, how does this tie into my brand? And every time I create a post, I think, does this align with my brand? And if it doesn't, then it doesn't make sense to post, in my opinion, right? So when we're posting content, it's always back to the brand. Who is it that I want to see this post and see it and say, I want to hire that person to help me buy or sell real estate? So I'm always using keywords in my content or using the point of view of my content that's going to be most attractive for whoever it is I'm trying to attract. If that is someone who's local to my area or in my geographic region, then I'm going to use words in the content: Columbia, South Carolina, the Midlands, Soda City, relocating to Columbia. What could somebody put into a Google search that would trigger your post to come up? So anytime we're posting things, I always have something in there, some sort of verbiage or keyword that is local to our area, because that's how the algorithm works, right? Like, if you get into TikTok or Google or Facebook or whatever, and you type in a phrase, it's going to populate stuff that would relate to that phrase. So keywords are critical.
Yeah, that's a great answer. Also, when you're uploading to Instagram or these platforms, mostly Instagram particularly, indicate your location, make sure that your hashtags represent where you're posting from. Don't use a ton of hashtags. Instagram also likes very specific, thought out hashtags, five or six tops. So everything Taylor just said, plus your location and your hashtags that indicate your location, all of those things help. Nicole is saying, would you suggest doing this from a personal page or business page? Oh, on Facebook, your personal page, 100%.
I would agree
On
with that.
Instagram, make sure you have a business account. You can go
Yeah.
into your settings and change it from personal to business, which is better because you get better insights as opposed you can see like where your followers are from, where they're commenting from, what they're interacting with, when they're interacting, all those things. Um, So what would you say to all that?
Oh, I would agree. I post things on my business Facebook page, but the majority of the content that I'm posting is on my personal page. And you can gain a lot of traction on your personal page. I don't know right off the top of my head, but my personal Facebook page is like always popping off in terms of how many views we're getting. I have 12,000 followers on my personal Facebook page. And
Yeah.
when I look at our professional dashboard in the last 28 days, my personal Facebook page has gotten almost 800,000 views. And
Wow.
so the content that I'm posting on there is the same content that I'm posting on my Instagram. But for example, I posted something on my Instagram yesterday, an Instagram reel, and it got 3,200 views on Instagram, but it got 5,600 views on Facebook in the same amount of time.
Very cool. That's
You're
awesome.
like really missing out if you're not utilizing Facebook.
It's not an option anymore, guys. Um, Business pages on Facebook are, you should still be posting to them, but that's because when people are looking for you or when they're looking you up, they'll come across your business page. Think of it as like your website in a sense, but really like your personal page, a business Instagram account, those are the best ways to go about those things. Um, when you're creating content, do you create off the cuff or do you kind of have days where you do content brainstorming?
You know, a lot of my stuff is off the cuff, especially on my Instagram, where I'm talking to moms in real estate and trying to train and coach them. But I've gotten a lot more serious with my other Instagram so that I can be strategic in what I'm posting. I think that when I first started, it was more strategic, and then I got really busy because I was slinging real estate left and right, and I didn't have the leverage that I needed. As I transition into a new role on my team and I try to get less transaction heavy and work to be more in leadership on my team and be more of the brand builder, I have really taken more ownership of the content that I'm posting and how effective it is because it's super important for us right now. I think that you shouldn't post just to post. Like if you are thinking, I just got to check a box and put something because I didn't, don't. You don't need to do that. I think it's really important to be strategic with what you post. I think you should spend an hour every week to think about, okay, on Monday I'm going to post this, on Tuesday I'm going to post this. Here's the caption, here's the idea, here's how it ties into my brand, which is the practice that I've made habit of over the last several weeks so that we can be more strategic. I think it's really important to cut through the noise now more than ever.
Yeah, that's definitely sure. Definitely true. Jenny's asking, should you post directly to personal pages or share them or share on your personal page or
I
share? Uh,
I get
I
what
mean,
yeah, I
yeah,
don't think it matters. I think that there's a lot of these little questions
yeah,
that people have and they get hung up on them and they
right.
overthink.
And then they don't do it.
And then they don't do it because they get analysis paralysis. I don't think it matters. I think that you could share your personal page from your business and it has the same impact. For me, my business Facebook page is not something that I am really thinking about as how do I attract as many people as
Yeah.
possible here because so many followers are on my personal. And I would be willing to bet that most people on this call have an audience already on their personal page.
Oh,
Like they
yeah, that's where it is.
so that's why I say share from there. So I don't think it matters as much. I think you doing the content and making the content count and be strategic is better than anything else. So I wouldn't get hung up on the little details. I don't think it matters as much.
I would also say, a great way to get engagement is to always ask questions. If you're out showing houses and you see a feature of a house, like let's say it's a cool fireplace, take a picture of that fireplace and post it up on Facebook and say, "Hey, I really like this fireplace. Is this something that you guys would like to see in your house?" Or, you know, you know, like comment on, ask questions based on what you're experiencing. That way, like, you're not actively in their face selling them on your services, but you're reminding them that you're a realtor by asking them questions. It's social media, not selling media. So it's social media. That's why I would say, you know, that's a
Yeah,
super simple but effective strategy.
100%. And I would say, part of my brand and my team's brand is that we are one of the best people that you could hire in Columbia, period. We do so much business. We sold a house every 2 days last year. We do so much business that there's no way that we don't know what's going on in the market. We see the ebbs and flows from the inside all the time. And so part of our brand is that when you think about who is the most qualified, we want you to think about us. So we are constantly posting what we're doing, where we are at, our updates in terms of how many houses we're selling. And some agents think it's like weird to talk about, oh, I sold 160 houses this year. They think it's like braggadocious. I think it is authority building. I think it is trust building. And I will always talk about how many houses we're selling and how big of an impact that we get to have, because in my opinion, it allows people to know that we know that they know what they're doing, right? And so
Mhm.
I recommend that agents, even if you don't have a lot of business going on, like even if this is not you, what it means for you and what you should be taking away from this is, how do you share with the world that you are an active real estate agent every single day? If you're going to a training, take a photo of yourself at the desk that you're sitting at right now. Take a selfie of yourself with the computer and say, I'm on a training and this is why. I'm on
Yeah,
this training.
everyone do it and tag us.
Yeah, I'm on this training, learning from Taley so that I can learn how to be a better real estate agent to better serve my community. I'm
Yeah.
visiting a model home today so that I can learn about the best deals for buyers. If you want to learn about these incentives, let me know. I'm door knocking today, getting prepared for my open house so that I can advertise this house. This is the kind of work I do when I list your house. Like anything that you are doing, big or small, you should make habit to share it online so that people can never forget that you're an active real estate agent, you're in the market, you know what you're doing.
So Diane in the chat, do you recommend using Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller? I read that book. It's a great book, but it may overcomplicate it for you. You're going to read a book about how you should post on social media, and then you're going to get more in your head about actually posting on social media. Taylor's just telling you exactly what to do. And
Yeah.
then your brand will start to build accidentally, and then you'll mold it into something.
I don't I feel like there's a lot of noise online these days about what to do and how to do it and who to listen to. And there's a lot of coaches and a lot of trainers and there's a lot of selling. I think you got to figure out what works for you and who works for you and really cut through some of that noise. But once you have the audience, you can make it into whatever you want it to be. When I was building, I wasn't thinking the entire time, oh, I'm actively building a brand. I wasn't thinking that.
Yeah.
I was being consistent on social media. I was figuring out what worked for me. I was doing it again and again, and I built an audience. And then I took that audience and I made it do what I wanted it to do. I asked
Yeah.
for the business. I asked for the referrals. I said, when you want to buy and sell real estate, here's how you reach me. I turned it into what I wanted it to be.
Uh, there's a question, and it's a very good question, actually. So when someone's reaching out to you on social media, okay, so there's statistics out there like buyers search for X amount of time before they contact an agent. Most buyers aren't ready, this, that, and the other. When someone's contacting you through social media, they're usually ready because that's going direct to the source. They're not on a website requesting a showing. They have they have chosen you. They probably had you in their peripheral for months. And now they're reaching out saying, I have followed Taylor long enough. I know she's the one I want to use when I buy a house. I know the houses I want to see. I'm going to reach out to her now. So, am
Yeah.
I wrong in saying that most of the time they're ready?
No, I don't think you're wrong. I think there are people that will message you just to pick your brain, and they might be a
Yeah.
few. But I'll tell you, it brings up such a good point, Nick. I left a listing appointment today, and when they messaged me on Facebook, they said, I've been following you for years. So for the people who
You're like
like,
looking behind you.
yeah, like what's going on? For the people that say, I did it for 3 months and it didn't work, you didn't do it long enough. You didn't do it good enough. You didn't do it consistent enough. There are people that are watching you right now that will not transact until next year. And if you give up, they're never going to reach out to you because they'll forget about you. So that's the importance of consistency. When someone reaches out to me on social media, what I think a lot of agents mess up with is they sit and they chit chat with them in the DMs for way too long. I just had this conversation with an agent on my team today. She said, I've got this Instagram lead. I've been talking to them back and forth. I haven't done a buyer consultation, but they're visiting in a couple months. And I said, you haven't done a buyer consultation? There's a system. We use it. It doesn't matter if they, when I first started, I remember having somebody tell me, you got to be picky and choosy with your time. Don't do a buyer consultation unless you know they're pre-approved. I think it's totally false. I feel like you build the trust.
Yeah, I
If
agree
you've
with you.
online, you're already building trust. Now we have professionalism. Now we
Yeah.
have a system. Like you've already built some sort of trust enough to where they're reaching out to you. Now you say, hey, listen, I would love to answer all of these questions for you. I'm happy to. And I think a great way for us to do that is to hop on Zoom for like 30 minutes. Maybe we can even
Hmm.
meet for coffee. We can talk about all the things. You can ask me anything you want. I can walk you through the process. Then you'll know exactly what you need to know, and we can build a game plan. Even if you don't want to buy today, like this will set you up for 6 months. And that makes it a win for them. Like you're doing
Hmm.
something for them, not, oh, like I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I don't want to bother them. I don't want to stress them out. I don't want them to feel like I'm being too pushy. You're doing something for them by offering them to sit down with you and get clarity on whatever it is they need.
Hmm.
And it's more helpful to them than they realize. So when somebody raises their hand and they're like, I want to search for a property, can you help me? Or I have questions. Book a consultation, get to the kitchen table, have a legitimate conversation with them so that you can both have clarity. And then if they're 6 months out, determine from them how you want to handle the timeline and the
Hmm.
conversation from
Yeah, also a good point about having a buyer consultation, regardless if they're pre-approved. They might not know how to go about getting pre-approved. You know what I'm saying? They might not be pre-approved because they don't know what to do.
there.
So
Yep.
you're going to tell them, and then they'll
100.
get pre-approved.
Yeah. And
Um, yeah,
a
go ahead.
lender, just sending them a lender is not sufficient. Like
Right.
you really have to build trust with people and say, like, hold their hand, walk them through it. You're not too busy to do that.
Yeah. So, real quick, this is just about tools that you use. So, like, what do you use to edit videos? Do you edit them or you just set it up on your dashboard and record?
Yeah, so I think that the only thing you need to put out content is your phone. It's the only thing you need. It's the only thing that I use. I mean, I have a light, like if I'm in a dark space, I have a tripod that has a light on it and I'll cut that on for better lighting. But I think you could just as effectively sit in front of a window, or be in your
Hmm.
car with the sun shining through your windshield. Like I don't think that you need anything fancy. As far as apps, you can edit your content right inside of the Instagram app. I do use CapCut and I pay for the pro version because it's super helpful for me. A lot of people feel like they need fancy microphones or whatever, and you can get them from pretty cheap on Amazon, like something that hooks up right here and you can hold it in your hand, and I think that's great. But CapCut and Instagram both have a feature that enhance your voice. So even if you don't have a microphone and it's a little noisy where you are, you can talk to the camera and use that feature and it cuts out the noise and it's fine.
Yeah. Also, I would recommend an app called Captions. That's all it's called. Captions. It's powered by lots of AI. If you're speaking into the camera and you pause for an extended period of time, or you say or ah, when it goes back to edit it, it will cut those things out. So to give
Yes.
it that cool, like choppy, edited look. Um, but yeah, CapCut is great. There's a new app coming out from Facebook called Edits, Edits, and you can go, yeah, you can go and go into your app store and uh, click the little button to get notified when it's ready to come out. I think it's coming out this month. Um, so there's lots of cool, yeah, but CapCut's great.
I
I
thought
use CapCut a lot. Oh, you can't download CapCut now though.
that's true. I forgot about that because of the TikTok ban. You can't.
Yeah,
So
you can't download it. If you have it
so
on your phone already, you're fine, but you can't download it. Hopefully they'll be able to do that soon.
there's one called InShot, IN
Oh, I
Shot.
use InShot. I love InShot.
InShot is a good one as well.
Yeah.
And if you do have CapCut or whenever you can download it, they have a teleprompter feature. So if you're like kind of
Oh,
creating
yeah.
video, you can put the script in there and it like shows up on the screen as you're talking. So you literally
Yeah.
just read it while you're recording, and that's
Yeah.
super easy.
So real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. Uh, what are you mostly posting about? Because, you don't, I mean, you want to show who you are as a person,
Right.
right? So how do you mix up the personal with the business to make sure that it balances out?
Yeah, so I post personal and business stuff. When we're talking about getting leads from social media, what I need you all to get off of this call and do is figure out who is your ideal client. Who do you want to see your content and hire you from it? Because if you're just posting random real estate stuff and you're talking to everybody, you're really not talking to anybody. So when I'm posting real estate content, I'm really trying to find the family that either already lives in or is relocating to Northeast Columbia. That is who I want to attract. That's my target audience. The young family that has a value of safety, that has a value of good schools, that really values community, because those things are important to me as a mom of a 4-year-old. Community, safety, education, those things are important to me. You'll notice that my ideal client is like a mirror of myself. It's very authentically who I am because I know who I am, what I need help with. If I was moving to an area, what my struggles will be. So it's way easier for me to talk to them. So my content is constantly trying to either show who I am as personality wise by sharing personal things that may be like a little funny, like have some sort of humor in there, but also being helpful to my ideal client. So I'm showing them neighborhoods that I would want to live in because my ideal client is me, a young family that values their family's move, their location, all of that good stuff, and a specific location because I want to live and work in the same area. So I'm showing neighborhoods. I'm talking about what they should look for in new construction because there's a lot of new construction in my area. I'm getting real specific. The type of content that I'm talking about or the type of content I'm putting out there is specifically stuff that works for my ideal client. So you could leave off of this call and go say, let's see what Taley posts. I'm going to post content like her. And it could absolutely not work for you because my ideal client is not your ideal client. It's a really personal thing. And that is the power of building a brand, right? Like you are calling out the person you want to work with when you have this brand identity. And that's what brings people to you.
I love it. So someone's trying to find the captions app. Let me see if I can find it. I just literally Googled captions app and it was the first thing that came up. So I'm not sure why you can't find it, but it's all good. Hold on. Here I'm gonna drop this. I believe this is the one. Let me make sure. Yeah, this is the one. So here's the website. And there's I think a QR code on the website, or you can let's see, get started. Oh, they have a desktop version too. This just totally changed my whole world. Let me make sure. Yeah, that's the one. I just dropped the link in the chat, but there's also an app too. So they looks like they have a website too now, which they didn't used to have. So now I'm like, captions is $10 a month, but it's worth every penny if you use it daily. It does so many things. Um, cool. Hey, Taley, thanks for being here. We appreciate you. Go follow. You know what? I'm gonna drop your Instagram in the chat so people can go follow you. I have it right here, actually. So here, this is Taley's Instagram. Um, go get some inspiration from her. And anything you want to, any wise words to leave us with, Taley?
I would say I just recommend that you get off of this call and give yourself 30 days to dive full in to figuring out what your brand is and go full send on it. Don't be scared of the hard work. Don't be scared of showing up looking a little silly. Just really meditate and figure out like who is the ideal client that I have and how can I create content that really works for them on social media and in the community? Like, how do you get around the people that you want to work with? How do you show off your core values and your brand? I think that everybody should have an identifiable brand if they want it. There's so many agents. If you want to stand out amongst them, you have to be identified
Mhm.
in some
Love
way.
it.
If there's anything I can do, you guys just holler at me. Happy to answer any questions. And hope you guys have a great day. Go sell some houses.
Thanks, everybody. And congratulations to Diane for saying she made the post on Facebook about watching the training. So you already got an A plus, Diane, your first homework assignment. Great job.
I
Thanks,
expect to.
everyone.
All right. Bye,
What?
guys.
See you
I said I
soon.
expect to see a lot. Bye.
Yeah, bye.